there are times in your life when you're not going to be happy. And then what are you going to do? Your goal is demolished. And there are going to be plenty of times in your life when you're not happy. There might be years. And so it's a shallow boat in a very rough ocean. And it's based upon a misconceptualization. Happiness is something that descends upon you. Everyone knows that. You know, it comes upon you suddenly. And then you should be grateful for it, because there's plenty of suffering. And if you happen to be happy, well, wonderful. Enjoy it. Be grateful for it. Who you could be. That'd be the first thing. It's like, because you're not who you could be, and you know it. You have guilt and shame and regret, and you berate yourself for your lack of discipline and your procrastination and all your bad habits. You know perfectly well that you're not who you could be. And God only knows who you could be. And so that's how you should be that's what you should be striving for. And associated with that, you should be attempting to formulate some conception of the highest good that you can conceive of, that you can articulate. Because why not aim for that? It's like your life is short and it's troublesome. And perhaps you need to do something worthwhile with it. And if so, then you should do the most worthwhile thing. And to be someone who can be relied upon in a crisis. There's an aim. You know, one of the things I've told my audience is, young guys take to this a lot. I said, you should be the strongest person at your father's funeral. All the people around you are suffering because of their loss. They have someone to turn to. Mission is the improvement of your character, the constant improvement of your character. And I think a lot of that's done in dialogue with your conscience. It's like your conscience is always telling you, Socrates said this thousands of years ago, your conscience is always telling you what you shouldn't be doing. And one of the things Socrates said was what discriminated him from the run-of-the-mill person, and why perhaps we still know of him so many thousands of years later, was that when his conscience told him not to do something, he didn't do it. He stopped saying the things that he shouldn't have been saying, and he stopped doing the things he shouldn't have been doing. And that's a start, you know. That's a discipline, I would say. That's the ability to follow a certain kind of intrinsic discipline. And maybe that's merely the cessation of evil. That's not exactly the same as the pursuit of positive good. Let's say you haven't got there yet, but that's a start. You clear away the obstacles from your vision by ceasing to engage in those activities you know to be wrong. And then the world starts to lay itself out in more pristine form. And then maybe you can start to apprehend what would be positively good instead of merely not wrong. Follow the damn rules, right? Get yourself together. Here's some rules, 10 of them, 100 of them. Follow them. You discipline yourself, right? You make yourself a reasonably, morally respectable individual. And so now you're not blinded as much by your own proclivity for uselessness and malevolence. And then you can integrate all that. You can integrate all those rules. And that's the beginning of the development of character. And then you can embody the union of the rules. It's something like that. And that's that ultimate nobility and character. Like in the Christian corpus, Christ is represented, let's think about this psychologically, as the perfect individual. You have to follow the rules, but you also have to be part of the process that generates new rules when it's necessary. And so you take that onto yourself too as an additional responsibility. And that makes you more than a blind avatar of authority and stops you from being rigid. If you become a better person, then you start to be good for things, you know. You can fix problems. You can handle a funeral. You can handle a difficult situation, you know. And so it's not only that it's psychologically meaningful to pursue the highest of goals and the development of your character, but it's also the best possible thing that you can do practically here and now in the material world to make it less terrible than it might otherwise be. Look, if you get married to someone, the idea is that you become one, right? And so it isn't just your interest anymore, or maybe it's that your interest isn't your interest without it also being someone else's interest, right? It's insufficiently formulated, and you need that conflict with that other person to tap you into proper shape. So what you're aiming at is you and the development of your character, but more than that. And then you do the same when you introduce children into that. You expand out that characterological capacity. And then you can continue to expand that. And so optimally, yes, what serves you should be serving at every level. And I believe that part of the reason that music has such an overwhelming effect on people is because that's what it says. It says, look, everything can work in a multi-level harmony. And then people listen to music and like music produces a religious-like experience in everyone, right? It transfixes them with the sense of intrinsic meaning. It's really miraculous that it does that. And the question is why? And I've puzzled over this for years. And it seems to me that the reason is that in a musical piece, everything has its proper place at every level. And so that speaks of, well, it speaks of heaven. That's the right way to put it, which is why music is so often used in churches. You get yourself together so that you can get your family together, so you can get your community together, so that you can get the world together. All of that at the same time. There's nothing selfish about that, except the responsibility which is on you to start that and to bear that and to lift that and to act it out. So it has nothing to do with chasing your short-term, impulsive, pleasure-seeking goals. We're built for a burden, and we're not happy without that burden, and we want to find the one that suits us. And that's difficult. It's part of the adventure of life to seek out the burden that suits you. But when you have that, then yes, then hopefully you're operating in harmony with the requirements of those around you.